In this video, I'm going to walk you through a custom app that we recently built for one of our clients. It has a CRM component so they can track their pipeline and their leads, as well as a whole project management section of the app where they can track all of their projects and all of their clients. It also has dashboards and reporting, and it can connect to external tools. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Tara. Over the last 4 years, I've helped hundreds of companies set up automations and workflows to help them simply work more efficiently within their business. If you need any assistance using AI to work more efficiently or set up a custom app, AI agents, or workflows, then feel free to get in touch. My contact information is in the description below, and I can't wait to meet you. I'm going to start out by explaining a little bit about who my client was and what her business is. Then I'm going to jump into the 5 main problems that we needed to solve within this app, and then show you how we did that. My client, and I'm going to call her Megan for the sake of this video, runs a business where they help other companies or organizations or schools set up grants. So basically, let's just say that there's a school that wants to apply for a grant. They're not grant writers. They don't know how to manage this whole process. So Megan's company works with her clients to apply for different grants. So her clients can be schools, municipalities, nonprofits, or different businesses that apply for these grants, and she manages the entire grant process. So it starts out with having to manage the leads. So Megan is managing leads of who can become her client, and she has a whole pipeline. Obviously, she needs reporting on that. Then once a client signs with her, so an intake form is automatically sent out, emails are automatically sent out for onboarding, and they start deciding which grants will work for which clients. So they have a master list of all of their grants, and then each client is assigned to different grants that are relevant, and they go through the process of applying for them. Obviously, throughout this process, there's a lot of different tasks that need to be taken into account because you need to track tasks. They want to track time of what's going on in terms of how much time you spent with the clients working on their account. And they also have bi-weekly reports that they want to automatically create based on the work that they've done. The first issue that my client had is they had no way to clearly see their pipeline. Like, who were their potential clients? What is a potential forecast revenue based on these clients? They had it in an Excel sheet, so it was somewhat organized, but only one person owns that Excel sheet. So there was no transparency, and you never know if the person actually updated it. So it was kind of a broken system. The second issue where they really needed help was within task management. They had a list of each client with the different grants and the dates, like the award date and when the due date was for the grants, but there were no tasks associated with those grants. So they essentially didn't know, are we 90% of the way completed with writing this grant or 10% of the way completed? Each consultant on their team would simply write it their own way, like maybe in an Excel sheet or on a document, but there's no centralized system to see all of the tasks and how much they completed within the task for each specific grant. The third issue that they had was with automations. They were essentially doing everything in a very manual way. So when a new client signed, they manually sent out an email to them. They manually sent out a form for them to fill in for all of their intake. Also, relationships between clients and different contacts within each client was something that they had to manually keep track of. Like, there was no way to see, okay, this is the organization or the school that you're working with. These are the different buildings that are associated, because sometimes they would work with like a whole school district and there would be different schools, and then there would be a superintendent and a billing person and a lot of different people that they needed to associate with. So in my mind, I put this into automations because people weren't automatically connected and associated with the right entity that they were working with. The fourth thing that they needed help with was with time tracking. They would just have a calendar, their Google Calendar, and mark, okay, I had an hour call with this client or 2 hours with this client. And then at the end of the month, they would manually tally that up to see how much time they actually spent on the client. And the final issue that they had is with reporting and dashboards. There were no dashboards for the CRM. There was no dashboards or reporting into the specifics, like what percentage was completed, but also how many grants are they working on overall? What grants do they have due within the next month, within the next week? What kinds of activities? How many activities are they doing? Like no dashboard or visibility into their work. Additionally, they did bi-weekly meetings with their client, and they needed to generate a report for that meeting. They were doing it all manually. They would go back to their Excel sheet or their file, wherever they wrote something down, and write, okay, we did this task for you. We did this task for you. So that became very laborious and just took a lot of time for them to actually build out those reports. So now let's jump into the app and I'll show you how we solve these 5 problems for the client. I'm going to start this demo on the homepage. So this is like a dashboard where you basically can go to understand everything going on within all of the things that you're responsible for. We set up 2 different dashboards, one for the management team and one for the consultants. So in my view, I can see both of them, but the consultants can only see their view. Now, here you can see we have just some key metrics. How many leads, what's the conversion rate, how many new clients you have, how much were all the grants awarded for, the client mix by division, because they had these 4 different divisions, the statuses of all the different grants, more information about leads, grants submitted. Here you can see they have upcoming award follow-ups and some recent grants that they're working on. There's also filters here, so you can divide by division and you can easily see like, okay, let's see everything associated with municipality. Let's look at all the different consultants, all of the different grant types. But this is basically the hub or the dashboard for the manager to see everything going on. Now, let's go to the consultant dashboard. And this dashboard was built out for someone named Abby. And you can see here that she has, okay, she doesn't have any meetings today, but this connects to her Google Calendar, which will see all of her meetings, showing her how many active grants she has, how many tasks, and how much was awarded year to date. Now you can see here there's a timer. So she simply needs to click on the client and let's say the grant, and she can start timing. And this is going to be saved into a report about the time spent per client. Here you can see she has all of her active grants, the tasks she's working on, recent time, and all of the report reminders. So everything that she needs to work on is right here, front and center. She doesn't need to go to a million different places. Now, let's jump into the CRM. So here you can see that we have a leads dashboard and there's a Kanban view and a table view. And you can easily filter between the different stages and between the different types of entities that they have. If I click on this, you can see a client card. And basically, I have the key information about them, the different stage, which I can simply change. And that will trigger this to tell me the next stage. Like, okay, next is discovery call. I also have an activity log. I can add the original brief. I have the primary contact information. If I want to edit it, I simply add it here. And I can see who's the owner of this lead. Now, once a lead is signed, I change this to signed. It automatically, you can see that it automatically sent out an email with a form, and it also converted it to a client. So now I can open the client. And as you can see here, I'm on the client board. There's no information here because this is one that we just added. But here you can see that I'm on the client card and I have everything that I need. Now, if we go to clients over here, we can see the clients overall. So here's all the different clients. Again, I have these filters. I can easily add a new client with all the important information that they needed. And if I click on the client, let's actually find one that has a little more information. So here you can see, I can see the grants, I can see the profile, the time logged, all of the information. They also have different contacts associated, different buildings, and different notes that are associated with each client. This is connected to a contacts board. This is simply a way to keep track of all the clients with their different roles. Like I mentioned, they could be primary, billing, or other, but it's all here. And again, connected to the clients. Now, since they were managing grants, they had this master grant list of all the grants that they already knew about and would keep track of. Instead of being in an Excel, we added it to the system. So they can either add a new grant if they want, or they can actually take a grant from here and they can use it within a client. So let's just say I'm in my client. Here I can go to my client and I can click add grant and I can choose a grant from this master library. Like they're always using grants from this library. Sometimes they search for new ones, but then they just add it in, but they don't need to do the repetitive adding it in every single time. Now, if we look at grants, we can just see a list of all of the grants. Again, these are all associated with the clients, but here's just more information if you want to see it this way. And here you can see the specific information about the grants. I also can add tasks here if I want to add specific tasks. And there's also templates for tasks that can be automatically created. We have the grant details, the link client, and the different stages. And for them, they also kept a lot of documents in a Drive folder, so it's automatically connected to a Drive folder. When I click on this, it will open up the Drive folder. Now, reports. Remember I said they need to do bi-weekly reports. So the reports are automatically generated. You can see here's an example of a report, and the activities that were completed throughout the 2 weeks are automatically added. Now, if I click add activity, I can also add an activity or I can edit a specific activity. Like let's say I want to reword this for the client, I can reword it. Now, I can save this as draft, I can preview it as a PDF, and I can also just send it via Gmail to my client. So I have all of those options for the reports. Here I can import information. So import, monthly grants or any historical awards. And this is one of my favorite parts is we added an AI assistant. So they can ask specific questions like, which client has the most grants? Here it's telling me Harbor Borough, or how many clients are new by this quarter? It gives me the information. I have a chat bot right inside this app that can read all the information within the app and tell them what they need to know if they don't want to go look for it or they just like using a chat bot. There also are specific settings for the admin where they can edit the emails. So for example, they have an email template that goes out as each person signs. There's an email that goes out with an intake form. So here you can see they can edit the different emails that are automatically set up. I hope that you were able to see through the demo of this app how we were able to solve the problems for our clients. But just in case you didn't, I'm going to do a quick review so you can see it. The first issue is that they didn't have a clear pipeline of their leads. Here you can see we have a very clear pipeline knowing what's coming up and what to expect. The second issue was task management. Here within each grant, you can see that you can add a list of tasks and it shows you your completion, how many tasks you've completed. Okay, in this case, we haven't done any tasks, but you can easily track all of your tasks. A consultant can also see all of their upcoming tasks and all of the work that they need to do right here. The third issue was automations. There were a number of automations built into this, like the automatic generation of the report, automatically sending out the report, automatically sending out emails when a new client signs. The fourth issue was time tracking. And here you can see that we have a manual timer that's on for every single consultant. And they simply track the time and then they have a report with all of the different time that they spent per client. And finally is reporting. Here you can see there's some basic reporting for the consultants. And on the management level, they have more detailed reporting based on what metrics they want to see. Thanks so much for joining me in this demo. And if you need assistance building out a custom app for your company, feel free to get in touch. My contact information is in the description below.